Here's the hard truth. Most people aren't living their own lives. They're living as puppets, pulled by opinions, guilt, and the fear of not being liked. That's not living, that's being controlled. Real power begins the moment you stop handing your energy to everyone else and finally take it back. Today, I'll show you the 11 undeniable signs you've become powerful. And if you don't see yourself in them yet, that's your wake-up call to change. Sign number 1. You stop fighting to be understood. Let me tell you the moment everything clicked for me. I was sitting there writing another essay-length text, complete with bullet points and disclaimers, trying to explain why I couldn't drop everything to fix someone else's emergency. Again, I realized I'd become customer service for people who never planned to respect me anyway. That's when it hit me. I'd been wasting my breath trying to teach calculus to people who refuse to learn basic addition. They don't get it because they don't want to get it. They're not confused about your boundaries. They're committed to misunderstanding them because it's easier than changing. Then everything changed when I stopped turning my no into a TED Talk. I stopped treating every boundary like it needed a PowerPoint presentation. Here's what nobody tells you, my friend. If someone really sees you, you don't need to explain much. If they don't, no amount of explaining will ever be enough. You could write a dissertation on why you need space, and they'd still find a way to make it about them. Your life isn't a courtroom. You're not on trial every time you prioritize yourself. You don't owe cross-examinations when you say no to things that drain you. The day I started responding with, "Cool, you don't understand," instead of launching into explanation number 47, was the day I found freedom. Not because I stopped caring, but because I finally understood the difference between being heard and being respected. People who matter will get it without the manual. People who don't get it weren't supposed to be in your life anyway. Your energy is sacred. Stop pouring it into people who treat it like it's disposable. The right relationships feel like coming home, not like a constant audition for someone's approval. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let people show you exactly who they are, then believe them the first time. The next sign is about something you do every day without realizing how much power you're bleeding. This one's gonna sting because it's about the exhausting performance you put on just to be heard. Sign number 2, you learn to sit with yourself. My friend, nobody warns you how loud the quiet gets when you finally stop running from it. I remember the first time I put my phone in another room, turned off Netflix, and just sat there with me. Within 5 minutes, I was reaching for distractions, like an addict looking for a fix. The self-critical thoughts I'd been suppressing became impossible to ignore, questioning why I wasn't further along in life and why I felt so lost when everyone else seemed to have everything figured out. Your brain becomes this brutal roommate that won't shut up. Every mistake you've made, every opportunity you missed, every way you're behind starts playing on repeat. Your first instinct is to run, scroll Instagram, text someone who's probably bad for you, work until you're numb, anything to escape the noise in your head. But here's what changed everything for me. The moment I stopped treating my feelings like enemies to outrun and started seeing them as messengers from parts of myself that never got to speak. Real growth isn't about feeling good all the time. It's about building the strength to feel bad without abandoning yourself. Sometimes that looks like ugly crying on your bathroom floor at 2 a.m. Sometimes it's staring at the ceiling because your thoughts feel too heavy to move. But you stay. You don't grab your phone to numb it. You don't call someone to fix it. You just sit there and think, okay, let's feel this. That's when a part of you starts trusting yourself again. Not because the struggle's gone, but because you showed you won't bail when it gets tough. You learn that your worth isn't measured by how easily things come to you, but by how you respond when they don't. The quiet strength you build in those moments becomes the foundation for everything else, teaching you that resilience isn't about never falling, but about always getting back up. Most importantly, you discover that the person you become through adversity is often more authentic and compassionate than the person you were when everything felt easy. I'm curious about your experience with this. Have you had a moment where you surprised yourself with how you handled something difficult? Maybe a situation where you thought you'd crumble, but instead found strength you didn't know you had. What did that teach you about who you really are? Comment below. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear right now. Sign number 3, you stop reacting to everything. You used to be quick with it. The screenshot, the subtweet, the response with just enough shade to sting. You knew how to burn bridges with style. But then life humbles you. One passive-aggressive response too many, one fake friend too close, one argument that left you asking, why do I feel worse after defending myself? That's when it hits you. Not everyone deserves your fire. Some people are just empty, and they get loud to fill the silence of their own hollowness. You see the shade, you catch the subliminal digs, but instead of clapping back, you just blink. You could destroy them with receipts, but somewhere along the way, you learned something powerful. Peace is expensive, and your energy isn't on clearance anymore. You start recognizing bait when you see it. That snarky comment, bait. That fake concern, bait. Instead of biting, you smile and choose stillness. Not reacting is a reaction, the strongest one you've got. Your silence becomes a strategy. Your calm becomes armor. Sign number 4, you choose discipline over dopamine. My friend, let me tell you something about real growth. It's boring as hell. You're not posting about it. You're not getting likes for it. You're sitting there at 11 p.m., staring at your phone with that familiar itch to scroll, and you put it down instead. That's it. That's the whole story. While everyone else is chasing the next hit, the notification, the purchase, the distraction, you've figured out something they haven't. Dopamine is a liar. It promises everything and delivers nothing but a crash that leaves you emptier than before. I used to be the guy refreshing Instagram at 2 a.m., eating cereal straight from the box, wondering why I felt like garbage. The truth is, I was treating my brain like a slot machine, constantly pulling the lever for the next tiny reward. Discipline doesn't give you fireworks. It gives you something better. It gives you respect for yourself. You make your bed when your brain feels like mud. You drink water instead of reaching for the third coffee. You sit with the discomfort of boredom instead of numbing it with another mindless scroll session. Here's the secret nobody wants to hear. The boring stuff builds you. Journaling instead of venting to friends. Stretching when your body feels like concrete. Choosing sleep over one more episode. No one claps when you close the app. No one sees you choosing the hard thing when the easy thing is right there. But you feel it, that quiet shift, that slow build of someone who keeps promises to themselves. These small acts of integrity compound over time, creating a foundation of self-trust that no external validation can shake. The person who can rely on themselves in the mundane moments discovers they can rely on themselves in the moments that matter most. Sign number 5, you stop romanticizing potential. Here's the hard truth that can save you years of wasted time. Potential doesn't pay your rent. I used to be addicted to almost in love, almost getting promoted, almost living the life I wanted. I'd stare at my phone for hours, crafting the perfect text to someone who left me on read for 3 days, telling myself they were just scared of vulnerability. The truth is, I was high on hope and calling it love. I was chasing ghosts and wondering why I felt empty. Here's the part about potential no one talks about. It's the most expensive drug you'll ever buy. You're constantly prioritizing future possibilities while neglecting your present needs. You're giving emotional energy to people who don't reciprocate, staying loyal to employers who undervalue you, and expecting improvements that aren't materializing. But anxiety isn't an attraction, my friend. Inconsistency isn't a mystery. When someone shows you who they are through their actions, believe them. That confusion you're feeling? That's not chemistry. That's your gut screaming while your heart refuses to listen. I spent months asking myself the wrong question about what if they'd change right after I left. The better question turned out to be whether I actually loved them or just loved the story I'd created about who they could become if they fixed everything that was hurting me. Stop fighting for what could be while you're dying in what is. Stop waiting for them to become the person you need while you abandon the person you are. Your ego will panic when you consider leaving, but let it panic. That's not your deeper self talking. That's just fear of scarcity. Your inner wisdom tells you something different. This doesn't feel like love anymore. It feels like you're just trying to survive what love has become. The moment you stop romanticizing potential and start demanding reality, that's when your real life begins. This shift from chasing potential to demanding reality changed everything for me. If you want the psychology behind why we get addicted to almost and the frameworks that actually work when you're ready to stop settling, I dive into all of this in my weekly Substack newsletter. I share the real stories and the frameworks that actually work. I'll drop the link below if you want to go further down this rabbit hole. I want to take a moment to thank today's sponsor because their support is what keeps videos like this coming your way. That sponsor is Brilliant, the interactive learning app that helps you level up your problem-solving skills with thousands of fun visual lessons in math, science, data, programming, and AI. You'll build knowledge step by step, while also becoming a sharper thinker. And the best part? You can learn anywhere. Brilliant works perfectly on your computer or your phone, so whether you're at home, on your commute, or just taking a short break, you can squeeze in a session and keep progressing toward your goals. It's not about cramming, it's about steady, hands-on learning that actually sticks. To give it a try for free, head to brilliant.org/mindflow, scan the QR code, or click the link in the description. And as a bonus, you'll also get 20% off premium, which unlocks unlimited daily access to all their lessons. Sign number 6, you forgive people who never said sorry. Let me hit you with something about forgiveness. It's not about them. It's about you finally deciding to stop torturing yourself. I used to carry grudges like trophies. Every person who wronged me, every betrayal, every lie, I polished that pain daily, replayed those arguments in the shower, rehearsed conversations I'd never have. I told myself I was being strong, that they needed to know what they did. The truth is, I was holding my own healing hostage. For months, I waited for apologies that never came. I convinced myself that if I suffered long enough, loud enough, they'd suddenly grow a conscience and give me the closure I deserved. But here's the brutal reality. That apology you're waiting for will keep you stuck in a prison where they don't even know they're the warden. You're out here carrying emotional baggage that's breaking your back while they're living their lives, probably not even thinking about you. Until I hit a breaking point at 2 a.m., lying there, obsessing over something that happened 3 years ago. The realization hit me hard. They hurt me once, but I was hurting myself every single day after that. That's when I realized forgiveness isn't about letting them off the hook. It's about unhooking yourself. It's not saying what they did was okay. It's saying you're okay now, despite it all. The strongest part is simple. You don't announce it. You don't send some dramatic "I forgive you" text or post about it on social media. You just quietly set down that bag you've been carrying and walk away lighter. Here's what I figured out. Your peace isn't negotiable. Your mental real estate is premium property, and you've been letting people live there rent-free for way too long. They don't get to hurt you once and then live in your head forever. That's giving them power they don't deserve and probably don't even know they have. The moment you forgive without needing their permission, that's when you take your life back. Not because they changed, but because you finally decided you were worth more than the pain you were carrying. True strength isn't found in holding on to hurt as proof of what was done to you. It's found in choosing your peace over their chaos again and again until freedom becomes your default. When you realize that forgiveness is a gift you give yourself, not them, you discover that the key to your own prison was always in your hands. Now, what I'm about to share next might sound completely backwards, but it's one of the most liberating realizations you can have. I'm talking about why you need to stop expecting something that most people spend their entire lives waiting for, and how letting go of this expectation will set you free in ways you never imagined. Sign number 7, you stop expecting closure. My friend, here's what nobody tells you about closure. It's the biggest lie we sell ourselves when someone breaks us. You wake up one morning and realize you've been standing in the wreckage like some kind of emotional archaeologist, digging through every text, every memory, every moment, trying to find the missing piece that explains why they torched everything and walked away. But here's the brutal truth I learned after months of waiting for an apology. Closure isn't healing. It's procrastination disguised as hope. You think if they just explained themselves, if they just said sorry the right way, it would magically make sense. Like they hold some secret key that unlocks your peace. But they don't. They never did. Life isn't Netflix. People don't tie up loose ends with a satisfying finale. They ghost you mid-conversation, leave you on red forever, disappear into the algorithm like they were never real. And you're left holding this emotional bag, wondering what you did wrong. I spent weeks writing messages I'd never send, rehearsing conversations that would never happen. Then one day, I just stopped. Not because I got over it, but because I got tired, soul deep, bone tired of carrying someone else's mess. That's when it clicked. You don't grow when they apologize. You grow when you stop needing them to. Even if they showed up tomorrow with the perfect explanation, it wouldn't unbreak what broke. It wouldn't change the fact that you rebuilt yourself without them, piece by piece, in the dark, with no instruction manual. You stop waiting for their words because you finally find your own. You look in the mirror and say, "It hurts, it mattered, and I survived it." That's not closure, that's freedom. Some wounds teach us that our worth was never theirs to decide. The strongest version of yourself is born not from avoiding pain, but from walking through it and choosing to keep your heart open anyway. Sign number 8, you start parenting yourself. Here's how you know you're really growing up. You stop walking out on yourself when things get messy. For years, you treated yourself like garbage. Every mistake was proof you were broken. Every struggle meant you weren't trying hard enough. You became your own worst enemy, bullying yourself into productivity and shaming yourself for being human. Then one night, something shifts. You're about to spiral into that familiar pattern of self-destruction, and suddenly a voice speaks up. Not loud, not harsh, just clear. "Hey, maybe don't do that thing you always regret." And you listen. This is the moment you realize nobody's coming to save you, so you do it yourself. You start parenting the broken parts of you that everyone else ignored, including you. You learn to recognize panic for what it is. Just fear, not truth. Instead of spiraling, you ground yourself. Breathe, drink water, Stop diagnosing your entire life through midnight Google searches. The feeling passes when you don't feed it with catastrophic thinking. You start talking to yourself like someone worth protecting instead of someone worth punishing. When you're overwhelmed, you don't add shame to the pile. You realize exhaustion makes sense when you've been carrying everyone else's problems while ignoring your own needs. Instead of pushing through, you give yourself permission to rest. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever you need. You've got your own back. It feels weird at first, like you're babysitting your own breakdowns. But here's what happens. You stop running from yourself when things get hard. You become both the storm and the shelter. You learn that the voice in your head doesn't have to be your enemy, it can be your greatest ally. The most profound growth happens not when life is smooth, but when you choose to stay present with yourself during the messiest moments. Self-compassion isn't weakness, it's the revolutionary act of treating yourself with the same kindness you'd offer a friend in crisis. When you stop abandoning yourself at the first sign of difficulty, you build an unshakable foundation that no external storm can destroy. Most people never figure this out. They spend their whole lives waiting for someone else to validate their feelings, to tell them they're okay, to rescue them from their own thoughts. But you became the parent you needed all along. Sign number 9, you accept that not everyone will like you, and that's okay. Let me tell you about the moment I stopped performing for people who were never going to clap. I used to twist myself into shapes that didn't fit me, just to be palatable. I'd laugh at jokes that weren't funny, downplay my wins so others wouldn't feel threatened, apologize for taking up space. I was so desperate to be liked that I forgot to be myself. The version of you that everyone likes is the version nobody knows. You can't be authentic and universally loved. Those two things don't coexist. The moment you start being real, having boundaries, saying no, choosing yourself, some people will decide you're too much or not enough. And you know what? Let them. My friend, I spent years reading tone into texts that had none, overanalyzing why someone didn't invite me, wondering what I did wrong when someone went cold. The anxiety was exhausting. Then one day I asked myself, why am I fighting to be liked by people I don't even particularly enjoy? That question broke something open. I realized I'd been giving veto power over my self-worth to people whose opinions didn't actually matter to me. I was seeking approval from people I wouldn't even ask for advice. Growing up means accepting that some people won't get you, and that's not your problem to solve. You're not everyone's cup of tea, and that's beautiful because you weren't meant to be. The right people will love you for exactly who you are. Flaws, boundaries, weird quirks and all. Your job isn't to be universally liked. Your job is to be genuinely yourself and let the right people find you. Sign number 10, you stop chasing people who left you confused. You know you're finally getting somewhere when you can tell the difference between genuine connection and just being hooked on someone's chaos. That feeling when someone has you checking your phone every 5 minutes, replaying conversations like crime scenes, wondering what you did wrong, that's not love. That's your nervous system getting hijacked by someone who thrives on keeping you off balance. If someone consistently leaves you more confused than connected, that's not passion, that's manipulation, wrapped in pretty packaging. You're not crazy for feeling anxious around them. You're human, responding to mixed signals they're deliberately sending. Let me tell you something that changed me. I realized those butterflies weren't romance. They were my body screaming danger. The emotional roller coaster I thought meant deep connection was just trauma bonding in designer clothes. You stop being impressed by people who make you feel like you're constantly auditioning for their attention. You start craving the boring stuff, someone who texts back, shows up when they say they will, remembers what matters to you. That consistency you used to think was boring, that's what emotional safety feels like when you've only known chaos. Real connection doesn't require detective work. It doesn't leave you questioning your worth or walking on eggshells. It feels steady, not like a constant adrenaline rush. The right people don't confuse you, they clarify you. Real love feels like coming home to yourself, not losing yourself in the storm of someone else's unresolved pain. When you stop mistaking intensity for intimacy, you create space for relationships that actually nourish your soul instead of just feeding your familiar wounds. Sign number 11, you actually like your own company. Let's talk about self-confidence. It's not about loving yourself all the time. It's about being okay with yourself when nobody else is around. Most people can't handle 5 minutes of silence without reaching for their phone. They need constant validation, constant noise, constant proof that they matter. But you've made peace with the quiet. You take yourself on solo coffee dates and don't make it tragic. You laugh at your own stupid jokes in the mirror. You have full conversations with yourself, and somehow you're actually good company. Here's the truth. When you stop needing other people to feel complete, that's when you become the kind of person others actually want to be around. Not because you're desperate for connection, but because you're choosing it from a place of fullness, not emptiness. You look around your messy room, tissues everywhere, candles burning, that face mask you forgot about, and think you're doing all right. Not in some fake self-love way, but in a way where you survive things you don't talk about. That kind of confidence isn't loud or performative. It's earned. It's the reward for every night you chose yourself, over seeking validation from people who don't even know your middle name. Here's the part nobody wants to hear. Your parents failed you, not maliciously, but they gave you their wounds, disguised as wisdom. They taught you to shrink, to people please, to carry shame that was never yours. Growing up means facing this brutal truth. You're not healing from life, you're healing from childhood. Every boundary you set, every time you choose yourself, you're betraying the programming that kept you small and safe. The people who raised you might not recognize who you're becoming. That's not your failure, that's your freedom. You're not broken for outgrowing the cage they built with love. If you found this video helpful, this next video right here will take you even further. Your choice, your life, start now.